Do you have way too much zucchini or squash, giving it all away, and you need another recipe to make it taste delicious? We're going to make that in just a minute, and you can enjoy it because it's easy. I'll give you several options, and then we'll show you very special items to pair it with at the very end. What I'm going to do while I'm slicing up the zucchini is to get my pan ready. Now, you can use beef tallow. This is organic grass-fed ghee. That's one of our favorites when I'm doing vegetables. So we're going to put approximately 2 tablespoons in there and let it start melting and get warm while we come over here and slice up our zucchini. Now, when I am making this for 4 to 6 people, I use 3 zucchini, not always the same shape, and then I use 2 yellow squash. But there's only 2 of us tonight, so we're going to take some away and use, actually, we'll keep this one and get rid of this one. Yes. Okay. Now, when it comes to knives, we have had many, many different knives, all levels of expense. This Victorinox is truly one of our favorites for meat, for vegetables. There's a link. I think you'll find that for an inexpensive knife, it'll become your favorite. So I always cut the ends off of the squash. Now, I'm not a major chef that will just fly by and slice this up super fast. I've learned to protect these delicate, very skinny little fingers. Okay, so I'm going to cut it in half and then slice it not too thin because then it would get a little gummy. So we're going to go through and just slice. Okay, now we're going to do this one. We could either halve it or quarter it because it's pretty big. Now, sometimes you'll get a lot of seeds when these get real big. I'm just going to take a few of these seeds out because that adds a lot of water to the dish. So we'll just take these out. And if you've got those big, gigantic squashers during the summer, just go ahead and take out this seed area. It won't get watery, and it'll work just as well as the ones that are more normal in size during the rest of the year. Okay, quarter, and then just go through and slice. Okay, I'm going to get this part going and come back and slice the rest, because if you overcrowd the skillet, it won't cook as evenly as you want it to just slightly brown it. So we'll put in this squash, start it cooking. I'm going to go back and slice up the rest, and I'll be right back with you. When I was working with clients on an inflammatory program to help with weight loss, loss of inflammation, one of the things that surprised all of us is how inflammatory a whole lot of spices are. As we've moved more towards carnivore, dialing down carbs, increasing protein, we really watch our spices. We primarily use sea salt, Redmond salt, which is right here. And then the other one that we use comes from a company called the Spice House, Lakeshore Drive. And we have found that that works for us in so many recipes. Even though I'm a gourmet cook and have lots and lots and lots of spices, this is our all-time favorite. Okay, so we've got the rest of our squash in here. There's room because I'm not making a full batch. We're going to just sprinkle on some of the Lakeshore. I never quite measure it because it depends on the size of the squash and how much I'm making. And we've got it down. This is a hex-clad pan, so you don't want to cook too hot. You want to allow it to simmer and just begin to cook about halfway through. We're going to cover it, and then we're going to go over and add the magic to the dish. So we're going to add a little bit of cheese. Now, what we have found for us that works really well is A2 cheese. This is Classic Jack. It's an A2 grass-fed organic. A2 means it doesn't have the A1 protein, which is what a lot of people react to when they think they're dairy intolerant. Now, if you don't want to use that, we've used manchego, which is from sheep. We've used raw goat cheese. Pick the cheese that works for you, and we're going to do a little pile of it, somewhere around a half a cup, and then sprinkle some on top. Now for that, you don't want to get out a big food processor. This happens to be one I like because it'll hold on to the cutting board, and we're just going to grate this up until we have a pile, and we're going to stir it into the pan right after all the squash has gotten soft. Okay. Makes a little bit of a mess, but the good thing is this goes right into the dishwasher. So that's about right, and then we'll put a little bit more on top. I'm going to go to put it in our pan. And then the other thing that we will add, and again, you have a choice. Okay, there's our cheese. We're going to add about 1/3 cup of liquid. Now this is A2 organic grass-fed cream. We use either Origin or Alexander is another brand. If you don't want to use that, you could use coconut milk, coconut cream, the one in the can, not the cartons. They have other stuff added. And you could do an alternative cheese if you know one that works for you. I will say that leaving out the cheese, it's missing the magic that makes this an incredible dish. So we can see that the squash is getting wilted. You could let it go until it's just slightly browned if you want, but this is in pretty good shape. So we're going to go ahead and do that little mound, however much cheese. We'll just put it in like this. You know, if you follow me in cooking videos, you're going to find that I like very forgiving videos that are easy, that are tasty, low inflammatory, healthy, and you just can't mess them up. Okay, we've stirred in our cheese. That looks really, really good. We've turned off the fire. That's always a good thing to do. So we'll take this back over so we can sprinkle it on top. And we're going to take our, our squash, pour in that 1/3 cup of cream. Now this really couldn't be easier. And if you didn't have yellow squash, you can do all green. If you have no zucchini, you could do all yellow. And then we're going to pour it into our baking dish. You could use a glass pan. You could use a loaf pan. We'll put this back over here. Okay, that almost looks good enough to eat right now. Okay, now we're going to take the leftover cheese that the extra that we did, just sprinkle it on top. And you'll notice I'm not using a plastic cutting board because we don't want plastic in our food. These are wood cutting boards, which are our favorites. And so there is our layered squash. Doesn't that look yummy? Now, here's what's cool. You can set it in the refrigerator, make it ahead of time, put it in the refrigerator, make it in the morning, then bring it to room temperature. Then you're going to put it in an oven, 350, 375, depending on how big of a hurry you're in, somewhere between 20 to 30 minutes. And when it's golden brown, it'll come out and it'll be absolutely delicious. Now, you won't want to miss the next video because we're going to pair this with smoked rotisserie chicken. What a delightful meal that's pretty much carnivore if you're using some squashes and A2 dairy. And if you're not carnivore, doesn't matter. This is just a great meal. Cooking from our kitchen is always delicious, it's always easy, and it's fail-proof.